of the alcohol. La 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 la. Just line 'em up and we will drink them all. La 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 la. But my mother always said, if you want to drink all day, you best start in the morning, son, 'cause that's the Irish way. We don't get drunk, we get awesome, and every other mother will agree. We don't get drunk, we get awesome, so order up around for you and me. We don't get drunk, we get awesome, and every mother must agree. We don't get drunk, we get awesome, so order up around for you and me, and you and me, and you and me. Let there be whiskey.
And I'm Chris. Hold on.
Third basements.
Oh, start over.
What?
Because I didn't have I guess the audio wasn't on. Sorry.
Hey, everybody. Welcome once again to Nerds with Alcohol. I'm Russ,
I'm Chris.
and this is take 2 of welcoming
Hey.
you back to the virtual.
At least I
basement.
caught it within the first 10 seconds. So.
You did. Thank you very much. It is episode 219, and it is a on again, off again nice day here in Michigan.
We were supposed to get rain today.
We were supposed to get like a kind of blustery winter storm, and we never got it. So apparently there was a little bit of rain, a little bit of hail last night, but it's been nice, you know. It is Tuesday the 16th. It is the day before St. Patrick's Day.
Not that really means a lot this year.
Not really, no.
Doing anything.
No, but
although I don't really like going out on St. Patrick's Day anyway.
Oh no, me neither. It's one of those, definitely one of those, amateur nights. That's what we used to call it in the bar industry, man. The night before Thanksgiving, St. Patrick's Day, and New Year's Eve are amateur nights. That's when all the amateur drinkers come out and get stupid. But I don't think we're going to say, we're still in this pandemic, so I don't think we're going to see too much as much craziness as we would normally.
CD, I've been in line at pubs at 7 a.m. For them to open here. Definitely. I did that one year. Went down to the El Shillelagh and got in line because Perkins was playing there, and so were a couple other bands that I really liked. And
yeah. I mean, I've done my fair share. You know, I remember there were times when I spent, like hours and hours and hours at, where was it? A couple of our performers from the Michigan Renaissance Festival was doing like an all night, like all day kind of thing, and Gibbon the Troubadour, if you remember Gibbon, Chris.
Dude, I was good friends with Gibbon.
Yeah,
I still am. Actually, I still talk to him once in a while.
Oh yeah, that's cool. He told me one time that I was responsible for getting him to get back into his music, and I was like, really? Because I ran into him at an event. I think it was at an event at the Phoenix Cafe, not too far from my house here, or what it used to be anyway. And he was at an event, and I was like, and we were chatting, and we had known each other a bit, Ren Fair, because I was at the festival forever, and I was like, he had pretty much set aside his music and his performing because of life, and I was like, man, you should really get back into it. You were so well loved, and everybody just you're so good, and I mean, I just was very complimentary, and he was like, and he did. He ended up like kind of getting back into recording and stuff for a while, and then I ran into him again later, and he goes, you were one of the reasons why I got back in recording and got back into doing what I love, and I was like, and I was so flattered. It was just like, wow, man, that's really amazing.
I saw him at the Phoenix one time, and we were talking, and I had hung out with him quite a bit around at fair and outside of fair, going to see him perform wherever he performed around here when he was living in the area, and even going over to Canada to see him perform. As a matter of fact, the girl I was dating at the time and I went over to see him perform over in Canada at one point, and we were over there. And it wasn't the first time we'd been over there for it. So they actually kind of knew us at the bar that we were going to. And we were sitting there talking. We were just having dinner. And the waitress came over and said, "You're here to see Gibbon, right?" And we're like, "Yeah." Like, well, he got stopped at the border and told he couldn't enter. And
Excuse me, sorry guys.
that's all right. You muted it really well. And so we actually called him. We finished up and then called him, left and called him, and he was going up to a bar up here on Gratiot, and we met him up there and hung out with him. And he said, yeah, basically he got stopped at the border. They found a packet of powder underneath his front seat of his van, and they like ripped his van apart. He told him, he said that it's aspirin, it's powdered aspirin. And they're like, oh no, it's cocaine. And we know it's cocaine, blah, blah, blah. He's like, no, we're going to test it. He's like, go ahead. You're going to find out it's aspirin. So they tore his whole van apart. And then they wound up testing it and found out it was aspirin.
I mean, why? What does he need powdered? What does anybody?
I guess it was something that he had gotten down south. I guess down south you can get powdered aspirin, and that's what it was. I don't know what you use it for, but yeah, it was powdered aspirin. And yeah, so he just got turned around and they said, well, you still can't come in. Oh,
that's funny. Anyway, so yeah, Gibbon, I remember, I think it was at a bar at a big place on Gratiot, and if I remember correctly, it was actually co-owned by one of the owners of one of the bars that I worked at. So, but anyway, it was done my crazy shit, but it's just, St. Patty's, I'd rather go to a friend's place and hang out, and if we're gonna celebrate it.
I've gone to Roger's Roost a few times.
Roger's Roost, that was it.
It's on Shannon.
Fucking Roger's Roost.
Yeah. Him and Perkins both used to play there a lot on St. Patty's Day. Fort Greene Fields was another place that Perkins would play. But yeah, good times. But But I'm just not into that whole crowd, that whole like wall to wall. There was one place we went to Dick O'Dow's over in Birmingham at one point. Me and my ex-wife and a friend, and we walked into that place. We were in line, and they were throwing T-shirts and beads and stuff off the roof and doing everything.
Well, the old shillelagh is
trying to keep everybody. Well, this was at Dick O'Dow's in Birmingham.
Oh, Dick O'Dow's, okay.
And they were doing all this stuff, and I'd been there before to see Gibbon play actually, but we're sitting outside and we're waiting to get in, and it was actually a nice day. It was probably around in the 60s, so it was a really nice St. Patrick's Day, 60s and sunny. And so we're waiting to get in, so it wasn't that big a deal. We go inside, we can finally get inside, and you can't fucking move.
Oh no, exactly. Well, of course, you're going to go to an Irish pub on St. Patty's.
We each got a drink, and then spent the next hour drinking that drink as we made our way through the place to get to the back door to get the fuck out.
Right.
It took us an hour to get through.
Yeah. See, I'm not down.
And I'm like, it was just crammed in people. I'm like, this is one, it's a goddamn safety hazard.
Right.
And two, can you imagine that now with the whole?
Oh, COVID it's not. Thing? Yeah. I think we're even after this pandemic, there's still going to be, even after people are vaccinated and stuff, there's still going to be quite a while before we're seeing crowds gathering in that number. I mean, even because people are like, you hear people talk about, oh man, as soon as I get vaccinated, we're going to do all kinds of partying and stuff. And I do think that that's going to happen, but I still think there are going to be a lot of people that are still nervous about it and about large gatherings, and still it's going to be a while before we see like, back to back kinds of gatherings like that, people just kind of packed in like sardines. It's just it's just not going to happen for a while, I think. Yeah, man, I have like a sneeze on deck, and it's just like anyway. Yeah, I mean, I was talking to Paulie Brady on Friday or Saturday. He invited me to a Zoom call, and
their St. Practice Day.
Yeah, his St. Practice. Well, it was just I sat in on the call, and then he went and did a concert.
Yeah, the pre St. Practice Day thing.
Mm-hmm. And we chatted for a bit. And for those of you who don't know, Paulie Brady is the lead singer of Stone Clover, and he is they are our opening and closing song.
Yep.
And one of our and he was on episode 100. He actually asked, he goes, "Are you guys at 200 yet?" And I go, "Actually, we're just over 200. We should have you on again, man. It'd be great. We should plan on having him on, because he is definitely a nerd with alcohol."
Yes. He's a nerd that makes alcohol, or at least
right. But he, I mean, like, St. Patty's is his New Year's, really. I mean,
Mhm.
he performs, has been performing even before Stone Clover. Every St. Patty's would go down, and because his family is associated with the old Shillelagh,
Yep.
so he's been very.
It's in
That's
the
kind of
family.
his thing. Exactly. So anyway, how was your week, man?
It was all right. Had some bad news last week. But other than that, it was all right. I mean, we had our game on Friday,
Right.
which
Yeah,
was good.
that was fun.
Yep,
That
it was
was
a good
fun.
game.
We did have that. We did have that hard out at midnight. We actually cut it a little bit earlier than that, and so which was good.
Yep. So, and I really like the way that I was able to leave that one because it. I think I left it on a good note.
Oh yeah.
And
sitting in the library doing some research. Yeah.
no, it was Yukaria's dream.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yukaria's dream.
And him waking up and then saying, "All right, that's where we're gonna end it." He's like, "What? No!"
Yeah. Well, yeah. When you can leave them wanting more, that's the way it is. That's a great thing.
Well, that tends to be most of our games, except maybe the ones that go till 2 a.m. and then.
Yeah, it was closer to 1:30, but it was still like, holy shit, we were exhausted at that point.
Yeah, but yeah, other than that, it was I had that on Friday, and then I had the D&D game that I play in on Saturday, and that actually went for almost 8 hours.
Very cool.
Granted, a lot of it was like BSing and stuff, and I'm like, okay, so I'm thinking we're gonna start at 4. I can, we'll probably be out around 9. 5 hours. That's about my limit. 9 o'clock hit, and I started like fading, and we went another 3 hours after that.
Oh man,
almost 2.5 ish. But yeah, I'm like, I'm gonna pass out. And I said, all right, I'm out. And the guy that runs it, Jake, was like, he's like, yeah, I saw you yawning like 2 hours ago. I said, yep. Like, dude, I just had my game, one of the games I run last night.
Yeah.
And then the next time we play, I have actually got my other game that I run the next day. So that's even tougher for me because I have to run a game both days.
Right. I've thought about that more recently. I've thought about running a game. I haven't ran a D&D game in oh man, I don't think I've actually run a D&D game in my adulthood. Like, I mean, I ran them a couple of times when I was a teenager, but I've always been like involved with games. I've never run one. I have to think about maybe doing something like that sometime. Thanks to some of these online tools, it's a lot easier to organize them now.
Yep.
I think that's a thing. People, we're not sitting around the tables, and we've talked about this. We're not sitting around the tables as much, but people are a lot more likely to play a game if they don't have to travel.
Yep.
They just sit in front of their computer for a few hours, and take away the half an hour to an hour that it takes to get ready to go and get there and then travel back.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, the virtual tabletop's nice, but there really is something though about having the physical figs and the we still use the physical dice, but the physical figs and the physical dice, and really to me it's the sitting around the table and hanging out.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, I would much more prefer that, but I do think that in our world of busy schedules and trying to schedule things, this has created an environment where somebody who is very busy or has kids or, whatever, can, they don't need to get a sitter, or they don't need to, I don't know. There's all kinds of different reasons.
Well, but it's been great for the pandemic.
Yeah.
That we haven't had to just stop playing.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Could you imagine? Ugh.
Yeah, well, 20 years ago, imagine this coming out then. You wouldn't have had contact with anyone for a year.
Right. Well, people would have gone back to calling people on the phone. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Because I just need to hear another voice. I just need to hear. Please let me hear another. Is there anybody out there?
But you're right, CD. Scheduling as an adult is not easy.
Yeah,
because everybody's got their own shit going on.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's always the problem. That's always the biggest problem about putting a D&D game together is scheduling, is
Yep.
finding a day and a time where the majority of your players can make it.
Yep.
You know, I mean, and that's the thing. You know, I mean, I've been in groups where we played weekly, and routinely at least one person couldn't make it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was also in a group of we were at least 10 players. So
Holy
I mean,
shit,
it was
that's way bigger group than I would ever want.
It was huge, but every single person was an experienced D&D gamer.
I don't care, man. That group is just too big.
Oh, it was big. I mean, Keith, the guy who's running the game, Keith, he actually had one of the other players was like a co-DM that kind of helped him handle combat and dealt with a few things so that they were able to keep everybody involved. But we were all high level, and we were all very experienced players. So it was a 3.5 game too. So we were able to make it fun, but there were so many people sitting around the table that not much got accomplished every time. You know, you're looking at 3 to 4 hours of game time, and really only about 2 hours of game play. Yeah, because of fucking around. Because everybody.
And that's kind of what it is with the group that I'm in, the group I play in, because we only see each other once a month. Right. Especially now during the pandemic, we used to see each other a lot more. Mm-hmm. It didn't necessarily cut down on the bullshit time when we did get together to game, because we're still, I mean, we're all guys who have known each other for 20 plus years.
Right.
So, I mean, one of the guys in the group, I think I've known him for since I moved back. So probably almost 10 years now. And he's the one I've known the least amount of time.
Right on. Yeah, I mean, that's why, you know, guys, a little gaming tip. It's always a good idea to set aside some bullshitting time in your D&D game.
Yeah, expect
beginning,
definitely.
Maybe a little at the end.
Yeah, try and keep it down in the middle.
You're right, exactly.
Well, even our Tavern Nights game, every once in a while, the bullshitting starts, especially when we're coming back from break.
Yeah, exactly.
Or, you know, you get into the discussions of whether or not there's good necromancy.
Right.
We'll be discussing that on Monday.
Personally, on our next Tavern Talks. Personally, though, I think that is something that it's a part of gaming. It's a part of D&D. Is you know, occasionally when you have a tangent off where you're like, oh, guys, you guys got to check out this, you know, this book I'm reading, or, you know, or, oh, did you see the show last night, or whatever, you know, I mean, a little bit of that here and there is fine. Even on a televised show like ours an internet-vised show like ours is it's still kind of important. You know, It's kind of part of that experience. And so, I mean, yes, you want to stick to telling the story, and particularly, you know, in this critical role day and age, but at the same time, you kind of want to remember that it is a bunch of friends sitting around a table playing a game.
Yep.
Even virtual.
How about you? How was your week?
Well, I did get some good shit happen this week. Got me my first shot. Thank you. Yesterday.
I'm waiting to hear when I can get mine.
And I went back to work on Monday at the parade company. It will probably be just a short-term kind of thing, doing some repair work and some cleanup, and kind of just we got the parade company got funds from the government to, you know, for pandemic relief, and they kind of got to justify it. Mm-hmm. So they're like, you know, let's bring some people in a little bit early, do some cleaning and do some straightening up, reorganizing, and do some repairs and stuff. So probably got like maybe 2 weeks or so, and then probably April I'll be off again for a while, and then but usually by the end of April I'm looking at back to, you know, by the end of April to early May I'm usually back to work. So we were talking like there's going to be probably at least 3 floats we're going to be building this year. But man, if I can get back to work by May 1st, which would be great, that's 7 months of work for me. Mm-hmm. So that'd be really cool. I mean, the first month or so is usually not 40 hours. It's usually more like 32 or so, but still, it's still mostly roughly full time.
Ease back into it.
Yeah, pretty much. And, but it was nice. I got my first shot. My next one is on April 5th. I didn't, just so you guys know, I got the Pfizer shot. It was very convenient at the TCF Center. They basically, you stay in your car and you get in the car line and you drive into the parking structure and you fill out the paperwork and you just kind of sit in your car and they come in and they stick you and then you sit in your car for about another 10 minutes or so just to make sure there's no immediate adverse reaction, and 10 maybe 15 minutes, and then they go, okay, you're good to go. And that was it. I barely even felt the shot. Like, it's actually like an inch long needle, and I was like, ooh, geez.
If you get somebody that's good, that you don't necessarily feel it.
Oh yeah, I mean the girl who
the skin, do it and then let it go. A lot of times,
the girl who shot me, man, I mean, she was like, stuck me. I was like, wow, you're really good. I barely felt that, and she's like, oh, thanks. And
how's it feel today? Is your arm sore at all?
The arm's sore. Yeah. The arm is like much sore today than it was yesterday.
Yeah, that's one of the things I've heard is that while you might not get a lot of side effects from the first one, your arm is sorer than you expect.
Oh yeah, it's definitely sore to at the touch, and it's sore to move it. You know, it's like like I got jabbed, and but I'm not experiencing any side effects really. I think maybe my body temperature maybe be like half a degree off, but I had a few friends that felt a little shitty if whatnot.
I had a friend that had COVID, and he got his first shot, and he was knocked out for a day. He said it was bad.
But I hear it's harder on people that already have the antibodies.
Well, it's because it's the equivalent of someone getting their second shot when they get their first one.
Right.
Because they've already had it, so their body knows how to fight it. Right. So their body goes absolutely apeshit when they get the second shot. So
yeah, my second shot is like April 5th. It's Monday, April 5th, I think they said. And I am expecting... Now I'm tagged. Yeah, I got that government.
Yeah, you got the government microchip.
There is absolutely no way they could get a microchip in that tiny little needle. It is the tiniest, like narrowest.
Dude, you don't know.
We don't make nanotech yet, man.
Yeah,
it would have to be like a micro.
They're out there, man. Come on, put the tinfoil hat on. They're reading your thoughts. That's not a tinfoil hat.
No, it's fabulous though.
Yeah, I say that looks like Stella's hat.
No, it was gifted to me. My first year down in Florida, the fairies that I worked with made me this, and it's like it has shit on it that represents every one of the various fairy characters that we made. So yeah, I had to wear it the last day. It was like people were like, "Oh, you look fabulous." So, anyway, so I am expecting probably flu-like symptoms when I get my second shot.
Yeah, but everything that I've heard from people that have gotten their shots already is that, yeah, you feel like shit, but it really does only last a day.
I heard anyway from 1 to 3 days.
Almost everyone I've talked to, I've heard says that the next day, by like midday the next day, they were fine.
Yeah. They'll make you turn into a car or something. It's the nanos. Exactly. Yeah, see, that's the thing. People are worried about being tracked with some sort of nanotech like tracker when we carry these around with us at all times. You're the dumbest thing.
You're carrying around a tracking and listening device with you. Why do you think Facebook knows about everything you talk about? It's your phone. It's not anything else. It's not your Google Assistant. It's your fucking phone.
Quite true. Quite true. So there's that. I got stuck. I mean, we had our game on Friday, so that was nice. I have gone back to work, and that was it was nice, even though like I hate getting up early. It's been nice to kind of get up off the couch and do stuff, and do some more, be a little more, active. I mean, as much as I love sitting on my couch playing video games, which I really haven't been doing as much the last week. I mean, I haven't done any marathon gaming for a while. I like at most it'd been like 2 hours, which is nothing. It was nice to kind of get up and get out and see some people, and we're all masked and stuff, and but thankfully because of the parade company, I did get my shot, and so we're all getting shots and everything. Yeah, we also unfortunately we did have some negative news last week, which we could probably talk about. we had two big losses within the Renaissance Festival community. One, both on the larger scale because they were both traveling people. One, Clark Orwick, known as to thousands, if not tens of thousands of people around the country, as Dead Bob.
Hey, audience.
Hey, what? Welcome to the Dead Bob Show.
It's
Dead
time
Bob,
for the Dead Bob Show.
Clark passed away. He had been
one of my favorite shows, actually.
He was actually the biggest draw at the Michigan Renaissance Festival. The only act that got bigger crowds was the Joust, and that was only because they could, because they just had more room. Mm-hmm. Dead Bob, for those of you guys who don't know,
I think he could have played the Joust field.
He could have. He absolutely could have. He was a single actor, a single performer that performed with a puppet, with a skeleton puppet, and he wasn't even a ventriloquist. I mean, he just stood there with a burlap mask over his face, and so you couldn't see his face speaking. And
that's because Smudge was his zombie,
right? The whole act was the skeleton puppet, and he was hilarious. It was a comedy bit, and he'd been doing it for roughly 30 years.
Participation type thing, where he brings people up on stage.
Little over 30 years, I believe, and it was just it was an amazing show. His show was one of those staples of the Renaissance Festival. I can't tell you how many. Huh?
And it didn't change.
It didn't change. No, he tried to change it, and the audience rebelled on him. His fans got mad. So it pretty much. I mean, he had a few minor jokes here and there, but for the most part, the show has not changed. It was incredible to watch his show and to watch like what he could do with it. It's stunning.
Look into my eye sockets.
Stop. Jesus. He passed away. He had some complications from his diabetes, which caused an amputation of one of his legs from just below the knee. And he had Clark was not a young man. He was 67. But he was also still
not that old.
He still had years ahead of him, and but he had a heart attack, and the heart attack was complicated by the diabetes, and he finally gave up the ghost on, I think it was Wednesday is when we found. It might have been Monday, and then the news was released on Wednesday, but I'm not quite certain. So he is missed by thousands of people in the Renaissance Festival community. Specifically, his fans will miss him a great deal. He had more or less retired, but he left an indelible mark on our community and on the people that loved him. And it was there have been now I just found out there's a scholarship fund in his name specifically for Rennie kids that grew up in the Ren Fair community, particularly traveling kids and stuff. He was buried in, I kid you not, a pine box, and I believe he was laid to rest in a either on his property or I saw pictures of them burying him and stuff, and it was not in a graveyard. So it might have been laid to rest at the Texas Renaissance Festival in what is known as Toontown, where all the traveling people live during the Texas Ren Fair. I know Clark had property there, and he lived there part of the year. So, Clark Orwick, we'll never see, the likes of you. A toast to Clark, Sláinte. Secondly, and a little more personally, for the both of us, James Waltz passed away on Monday as well from a heart attack as well. James was the crafter that owned ran Rainmaker copper jewelry. He was... I can't remember if he owned the booth or if he was partnered. I think he might have been partnered with the guy who originally owned it. He made copper jewelry. He made the copper roses that everybody knew so much about at the Ren Fair. He was a good friend, and had been. He was 46. He was just a bit
Renee
younger
said
than me.
ran Rainmaker.
He ran it. Um, I knew James. I met James when we were very young. Probably I was maybe 20, 21, and my maybe second year at festival. He actually started working with me in the men's room attendant service that I first worked in the bar industry. And we worked together. And then I had a falling out with the manager, with the guy who owned the company, and left for a while, for about a year and a half. And then James, or also known as Boone, I called him Boone. Boone started his own men's room attendant service and asked me to come back and join his. So I worked with him for about 10 years, give or take. And even after I stopped being a men's room guy and was strictly a DJ, I still worked with him at the club and saw him a lot. And so he was a good friend and a good person. He was the kind of guy that spoke his mind and was very opinionated. He was very smart and had a lot of opinions, a lot of knowledge. And sometimes that opinion, pissed people off and bugged people, but he was not a bad man at all. He was a very good person.
Yeah.
He left behind. It was. He would give you the shirt off his back, and then some.
Yeah, Renee's first job at the fair was actually working at Rainmaker.
Yeah. He always had a girl out front modeling the jewelry, or and helping sell and stuff. And he was a good guy. I actually introduced him to his first wife, which didn't work out ultimately, but he is survived by his first wife, his second wife, who then unfortunately they'd only been married about a year and a half. They'd been together for a while, but they'd only been married about a year and a half, and 5 kids. So it's a kind of tragic.
Yeah.
I can't remember. Did I post it on the Nerds with Alcohol page?
I don't think so. No.
The memorial. I did put it on my personal page. If you guys are curious, you can look it up. Maybe I'll share it on the Nerds page. There is a GoFundMe that is goes to directly support the kids and whatnot, and the cost of just death, really.
Mm-hmm.
And so a drink to James Waltz. Again, one of a kind, man.
Yep. Rest easy.
Yeah. It's lunch, man.
All right. So, what are you drinking? Looks like it's Triple Jam again.
Just Triple Jam tonight. I had that Mad Farmer stuff last week. I still had a couple left, but I don't like to review the same thing 2 weeks in a row. So I just didn't get a chance to get because, like I said, I was telling you earlier, I kind of came home and I'm still kind of getting used to getting up early. Plus, I think this COVID shot's got me a little drowsy. So I took a nap and then woke up and, oh shit, it's 7:30, so didn't get a chance to get anything new. But that's me. This Triple Jam, it is one of my favorite ciders. They just from Blake's. It's fantastic. I've reviewed it many, many times. Probably reviewed this more than anything on the show. It's a great 3-berry cider, and you guys know it. You guys love it. Check it out. Do it. It's all good. What are you drinking?
I am drinking a beer from Founders. This is part of their barrel age series, which they have. I think they put one out every quarter. This one's called Panther Club. It is a porter with vanilla extract and maple syrup aged in bourbon barrels, and that's the
Panther's Club. It sounds like breakfast.
It's actually really sweet.
Yeah, it sounds like a pancake breakfast. Like you should pour that on your pancakes.
It is 9.2% ABV.
That's on the high side.
Yeah. A robust porter, Panther Club is aged in the finest bourbon barrels available, along with a kiss of maple syrup and vanilla extract. The aroma of maple and vanilla combine with the surprisingly deep character to make this rare creature one to gaze upon fondly. Don't let it fool you, this kitty has claws. This one was actually barreled or bottled on 129.21, so it's a fairly fresh beer. It is dark, very dark, as you can see. Nice, like kind of tannish head, and it retains just a little bit of the head as you're drinking. The aroma is very vanilla. You get a hint of the maple from me, but for the most part, I'm getting a lot of the vanilla. I'm gonna take another sip here. And the maple comes through in the flavor. Like I said, it is really sweet. This is very much something I consider a dessert type of drink. It's not cloyingly sweet, but it's got a full mouth feel. It's smooth, and it does have a mixture of flavors. There's chocolate, there's vanilla, there's the maple. I don't get a lot of oak. There's not, like, for it being aged bourbon barrels, I don't get a lot of bourbon. I don't get a lot of oak. There's maybe a little hint of each in there. Overall, though, this is really good, and it's one of those where I can just sit and sip it for a while on an evening. I mean, this would probably go really good with a cigar, or a pipe.
Okay.
But yeah, I would say I'll give this 4.5 bottle caps. It's quite good. All
right.
Which, speaking of bottle caps, we actually got a new friend on Untapped last week. It surprised me. But yeah, this is actually really good. Oh, hey, CD's having New Wave Lemonade for the first time.
Oh, cool. Very cool.
Yes, that's actually one of Renee's creations.
Yeah, absolutely. It's fantastic.
It is. It's really good.
So it was funny, at work the other day, we were talking about, or just today actually, we were talking a little bit about what?
Renee just reacted to it.
Oh, okay. Hats off to the brewer.
Yeah.
So we're talking about one thing today. It's just kind of hilarious. It kind of struck me. So yeah, the boss was like, "How drunk do you got to be that you got to try butt chugging?" And I went, there's no level of drunk that I would have to be to actually try butt chugging. And for those of you guys who don't know what that is, that was where you basically have a beer or alcohol, some form of alcohol enema. And because the alcohol is absorbed directly into the bloodstream through the lower intestine, you get drunk immediately.
Yeah, no thanks.
And I'm just like, no. I've never been so drunk that I would want to even try that. I don't like really the taste of beer all that much. It depends on the beer. I've had some beers that I like. I've had some other beers that that is not healthy. But I just was kind of like, I don't think I mean, one, the kind of beer that I do like, I like it because I like its taste, and you're not exactly tasting it that way. And
yeah.
If you're gonna butt chug
tasting it that way, there's something wrong.
There's something wrong with you, really. But it's something that apparently became kind of semi-popular at college campuses and stuff, and I'm just like, I just don't fucking understand.
You know, I can't imagine like going to a party and having somebody go, "Hey man, you want butt chug this?" No, not even a little bit. I'm exposing my asshole to you assholes. Thank you very much. So just struck me as kind of funny. Another thing too, former guest of the show, Sean Nicolin, who was on episode 7 and then on episode 207, if I remember correctly. He recently wanted me to pass on
to be nectar, their distribution, how great their distribution is. Apparently he was able to pick up some zombie killer in New Jersey where he lives. So that's pretty great.
Cool.
So yeah.
Yes, CD, I'm not sure. It's not a hoppy beer, the New Holland Peanut Butter Poet. It's a stout. It's okay. So I think that was just a mistype. Yeah, it's not hoppy at all. It's not an IPA. It's a peanut butter stout. But yeah, I can understand that. If you don't like the flavors, I can get that. It can be overpowering and too sweet. A lot of people don't like any of the peanut butter ones. This is the first one I've found that I actually liked, was the Peanut Butter Poet.
Yeah.
But yeah, so
anyway, butt chugging, don't do it.
Yeah.
Don't do it. It's just
I'm like, what were we talking about? Oh yeah, something I didn't want to talk about. I was trying to change the subject.
Right. That was for everybody out there. That's how my brain works. I'm like, can you believe this shit?
Yeah, so I posted something today on the Facebook page. The trailer, well, it's the article. It was an article about it, and the trailer for the Dark Alliance game that I didn't realize was coming out in June. I thought that was still like a ways out. But
no, right around
June
the corner, really.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's coming out for PS4 and PS5.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's
Xbox Series X, Xbox Series S as well.
Yeah, the one that the article I found was actually a PS blog, so it was a PlayStation blog. So I was looking at that, but while the gameplay to me, I was looking at it going, I'm not sure. I mean, it looks cool, but we'll see. I know.
In the trailer, there was a lot of cutscene stuff and very little actual gameplay footage, from what I could see.
No, I saw a lot of gameplay footage and not a lot of because it was them running around fighting things. It was running around and it was a bunch of fight scenes. But yeah, so watching that though, and I'm like, all right, well, the gameplay looks kind of typical gameplay-ish. But the fact that they used Ozzy Osbourne's music to overlay made it so much more badass.
Okay, I've got it running right now on my other screen, and yeah, you're right. It's mostly gameplay footage. You're right. But yeah, I didn't recognize it as a recognizable like Ozzy song, but
it's one of his new ones.
Oh,
it's one of his new ones? Yeah. The thing is, so you can play one of 4 characters. You can play Drizzt, Brunor, Wolfgar, or Catti-Brie.
Catti-Brie, yeah.
They leave Regis out. He's the only one that they're not including in the game. Mm-hmm. But the thing is that you can either play it single person with one of those characters, or you can play with friends and each of you plays a different character.
Correct. On co-op.
Yeah.
Now that's
kind of
really
cool.
That's really cool. Yeah. And which is interesting because you can play co-op, or you can play it 4 times through with a different character. I mean, I was hoping. I mean, it depends. I mean, maybe you can like switch characters at different times throughout your gameplay. So I hope that might be the case too.
Yeah, you're right, CD. I that's the thing. I may get a PS5 for that as well. This may be the game that I try and get the PS5 for. Is for that one. And
I mean, well, that's the thing, though. It does say that it's available on the Xbox, both the new Xboxes too.
Right,
so.
but I don't want. I'm not planning on getting the Xbox anytime soon because it's got too many bugs and things that I've heard about.
Right.
That I plan on getting the PS5, and then maybe a year from now I'll look at getting an Xbox once they've worked a bunch of the stuff out. And yes, you're right. Regis could be an add-on later, or he could be a side character. Regis isn't really a fighter, though. The 4 characters that they're letting that you play are all fighter characters.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Whereas Regis is the sneak around. He's the sneak thief. He's the one that sneaks around and gets into trouble. But
right. Well, these are all combat heavy characters. Now, I'm not as heavily as familiar with them as with these characters because I just didn't really read much of the Drizzt books. I actually have purchased, they're in the other room, the 4 volumes of the collected Drizzt Do'Urden like books.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, they're like this thick, and they're like
Yep.
5 books all, put together.
Yeah, probably
in
3
4.
each.
3, at least 3 each.
Because
And
most of them were trilogies.
right. So I'm looking
I
forward
have
to reading
almost all of
those. But at the same time, I was more of a Dragonlance guy as opposed to
You're right.
the Forgotten Realms. I had definitely read some Forgotten Realms, but I never really got into the Drizzt books until more recently. So I'm not as familiar with these characters. I don't care though. If it's got Dungeons and Dragons label on it, I'll probably play it.
As much as I love Drizzt, I actually want to play Wolfgar. Big badass barbarian.
Mm-hmm. All right,
cool. With a big hammer.
What's that?
With a big hammer.
Oh, okay.
He's actually a barbarian that was raised as a dwarf.
A barbarian raised as a dwarf?
Yeah, he was adopted by a dwarf, by Bruno.
Okay.
Yeah, and this is supposedly going through. It's not going through the actual like Crystal Shard, which was the first series that Salvatore wrote, but it does have to do with the Crystal Shard. And it's supposedly a bunch of humanoids invading Icewind Dale looking for the Crystal Shard, which was an artifact that they found in the first series of novels.
Okay.
But yeah, I've read most of the Drizzt books. I've met R.A. Salvatore, great guy. A lot of really cool, a lot of fun, really nice guy.
I've heard he's a really cool dude. Yeah.
Yes,
but
it is a thrown hammer. He can throw it and it returns. It's a hammer of returning.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I actually had a character that had that. We had written it, and it was one of my Monty Hall campaigns. I played in where we had, if you got it was like a hammer of throwing and a belt of storm giant strength and gauntlets of ogre power. If you got all 3 of those together, it basically made you Thor. And you could not.
2 of those don't stack.
Well, this was back in like 2nd edition, and that's back when it did stack, and I'm fairly certain, but it was some sort of game mechanic that you could get all 3 of those things, or it might have been just 2, but I think it was still 3, and it essentially it gave you like stupid amounts of strength, and there was some kind of lightning add-on too, or something. Maybe that was from the Storm Giant belt or something. I can't remember, but it was some kind of thing. And yeah, we had a barbarian character that had that. Mm-hmm. It was really fucking cool. He was unstoppable, but he was pretty fucking cool.
So yeah, so just so you know though, Russ, because you said you weren't as familiar. So Brunor is a dwarven warrior, fights with a battle axe. You got Wolfgar, who's a huge barbarian human, fights with a big hammer that Brunor made for him. It's a magical hammer. Drizzt of course has his dual scimitars. He's a ranger, but he fights 2-handed. And Ketty Bry is actually an archer.
Right, you could tell that from the.
And she's another human that was adopted by Brunor. So she was raised as in the dwarven community as well.
Right. Well, that's cool. I mean, like I said, I'm fucking down, man. I want to play the fuck out of this game. I mean, like I said,
and that's the thing. It could be cool. I want to see how the gameplay goes because granted, you play till all hours of the morning, but maybe sometime we can actually get on and actually play a game together on PlayStation or something.
Yeah, fucking right, man. That'd be cool.
I've played games on Xbox with friends, but I've never played anything on or on PlayStation with any of my friends.
I've done that. I like a little bit with Fallout 76. I met up with some friends from Florida that happened to be playing and stuff, but I've never really been one for online play like that. So, I'm down to play with you, man. That'd be cool. It'd be fun. Yeah, and plus it looks like this game. That's exactly what this game is made for. And
that's my concern is that it's going to be more focused on cooperative play and not so much on a single player storyline.
Well, I mean, that's the thing though. If it has game mechanics that allows people to play together co-op, then most probably what it is in the game you choose, when you're playing the game, a single player, you choose one character to control, and the other three characters are probably controlled via the computer, via the game. So it's like, you're basically just kind of jumping in and controlling a character that normally would be controlled by somebody else.
I heard that it's not open world, but it's going to be where it's kind of choose your own adventure type of thing, where there will be like areas where you can choose to go this path and finish all of this before you head down the rest of this main storyline. Cool.
That's kind of the way, it's very much like the way Avengers is built up. Yeah, like Avengers is not open world per se, but you can follow the different paths and then to the end game at your leisure. You can do different things at different times. And in fact, actually, speaking of that game, there's actually coming up this tomorrow, I think it is, or end of the week. There is a big patch for that game that's going to put it up to the PlayStation 5 version, to the next generation version. And there's a content patch, and then also unlocking the harm missions, or custom made harm missions where you can, which is like basically in their version of the danger room, where you can custom make combat that, in combat rooms and combat situations for yourself or for other, for group play and whatnot. So featuring Jimmy Woo, actually. But anyway, yeah, it just sounds like that this Dark Alliance game is very much kind of in a similar kind of build as a game like Avengers. I'm just hoping that it doesn't become like one of these microtransaction games,
My other question is, will it be cross-platform? Will you be able to play with friends who have it on a different system?
I hope so. I mean,
that's supposed to be the wave of the future, is cross-platform play.
I think they're going to get ultimately more people playing that way. I mean, if your goal is to get as many people playing your game as possible, then you want to get it to the point where
you be cross-platform,
right? Cross-platform, so that people that have it on Xbox can play with people on PS5. They can play with people on the computer.
Yep.
It doesn't look like this game's going to be available on the computer though, but some games are. I mean, do it. Get it squared away. Come on. But I think it looks great, and I'm definitely in. Once again, if it's got that D&D tag on it, I'm buying it, man. I'm playing it.
And something that I just wanted to mention real quick, that we'll probably talk about more next Monday on Tavern Talk, is Candlekeep Mysteries came out today.
Yes.
So it's 17 short adventures for your D&D campaign. It's based on Candlekeep from Forgotten Realms, but it is easy to actually move it to another realm. They even give you suggestions in the book itself on where you can put it in various other realms.
Mm-hmm.
So the first one they list is actually Exandria. But yeah, so that came out today. It's available on pretty much anywhere where you can get D&D supplies, or it's also available on D&D Beyond.
Now remember, it is basically a way of integrating a more mystery-oriented gameplay into your game,
Well, yeah, it's all based on books. All of them are based on books. And then they have, look, because I actually bought it today.
Did you?
Yeah. So the 17 adventures, there are level 1, level 2, level 3, 2 level 4s, a level 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16.
Wow. That's cool. Going all the way up.
Yep.
And they're based on books?
They're based on books that you find in the library.
Oh, okay. I see.
You find in Candlekeep.
Okay. Well, because I think it's a cool, important kind of thing, because, and I like the segue, by the way, video game into the, just very good. I like the idea of putting, these kind of elements into your gameplay. You got to remember that D&D isn't all about just, rolling dice for combat. There should be elements of intrigue and elements of mystery and stuff
depending
like
on the
that
group
into your story.
on what the group likes. That's the whole thing. Is that
Sure.
D&D should be based on what the DM and the players like.
Correct.
So
And
if they just like combat, then
yeah, but the thing is that if they're never exposed to anything beyond that combat, they don't know whether they're going to like the mystery stuff as well. So integrating that kind of stuff, even if it's a little bit at a time, is a good idea. It gives your group the opportunity to explore different aspects, different parts of the role playing game. So,
but yeah, I would say expect to see some stuff from that coming up in Tavern Nights.
Oh, ew.
Because guess what library I'm going to use?
Gee, I don't.
You guys are currently in a library looking for information, going through all sorts of books.
We are.
What great timing that this came out now.
CD says that solo is supposed to be really hard. So
yeah,
hey man, I could take a challenge. You know, some of the games I've been playing, honestly, you get to a certain point and you kind of walk through them. I mean, as much as I've been liking Cyberpunk, by the time you're maxing out your levels, I mean, I was like, I really wasn't too worried about too many things. You know, you're also carrying around enough healing sprays and stuff that I just keep sucking those things down. I've so rarely died when I was getting to that, getting to that point. That I mean, same thing goes with Skyrim. You know, you get to a certain point where your character's powerful enough, you're not really worried about too many things.
Yeah, just real quick to just drop back to Candlekeep Mysteries real quick. Just the one last thing is what I was going to say is you guys are currently in a library looking for a bunch of information.
Yeah,
and you have someone who keeps trying to steal books.
That's right.
What books do you think she's stealing?
Way to go, Klimbrom. Anyway, also, to keep on the D&D track, there is more and more stuff coming out for Baldur's Gate 3 all the time. They just recently updated it again to include the Druid class. They're basically been slowly kind of unlocked because we're still essentially in the beta test for it. As they released back in September the first quarter of the game with some of the races and some of the classes available to play. I think because basically the pandemic slowed them down, and I think they just kind of went, you know what, we're gonna make sure that this thing is perfect. So they released the first quarter.
Gee, look what Cyberpunk did. Let's make sure we don't do.
Well, they even released that before they released their game before Cyberpunk.
Right.
So,
but now they're looking at it, going, "Look what happened there. Let's slow down a little.
Yeah, let's make sure this is perfect."
Yeah.
So, I mean, I feel like this is the kind of game I'm going to buy 2-3 times. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. I'll get it for Steam, and if they port it to the PS5, I'll buy it for that too because it looks beautiful. It looks really cool, and I'm really Skyrim. I'm super uber, and when I finally finished Skyrim, I could one-shot dragons. It was ridiculous. But anyway, I'm really excited to finally play this game. I believe they had said when they released the game in September that the full release would probably be coming the summer of 21, or probably within a year of their release, which was in September. Like I said, September of 20. So I'm hoping that it comes, it's sooner rather than later. A lot of my friends that did end up buying it did recommend that. They said, if you really want to play the game, if you're really, looking forward to this game, just wait until the full release because because you'll blow through the initial content really fast. And then you'll be like, is that it?
Yeah. I have a friend that's playing it quite a lot. And he said that the biggest issue he has is that when say you're fighting something and one of your party goes down, if you then kill the bad guy and you drop out of combat, that person dies.
Oh, okay.
They don't give you the time to save them. If you're not, if you're no longer in combat, it's just boom, they're dead.
Okay, I see.
And he said that's one of the biggest issues he has is that you don't have that time to go and all of a sudden, okay, so everything's done. The cleric heals him. There's no death saves anymore. Once you're out of combat, if you're down, you're dead.
That's a drag.
Yeah.
So you got to make sure everybody survives combat.
Yes, or you have to be able to res them.
Okay.
He said that's the biggest issue that he has with the game. He said otherwise, he goes, it's beautiful, it's a lot of fun, it's a blast. He really likes it, except for that's one of the aspects he doesn't like about it.
Okay, I just looked it up right now on Steam. Dungeons & Dragons Dark Alliance is available on Steam.
Oh.
It will be available on Steam.
So it is going to be a PC game?
Yeah, you can pre-purchase it for $40.
Speaking of Steam, they sent me an email today saying that one of the games on my wish list is on sale. I can get Assassin's Creed Black Flag, which I've never played, for $6.59.
Wow, that's nice.
Like, you know what? $6.59. That might be worth it just to have on my computer for later, just in my Steam account for later.
Dude, I've got a bunch of games that I purchased that I was like, oh, this looks like it would be a lot of fun, and I picked it up for like $5 to $10, and I'm like, I still haven't played it, but at least it's on here. It's in my
library.
It's in my library, and when I finally get around to it, because it was like originally it was like $40 or $50 when I wanted to play it. But yeah, definitely, I think there's a little bit of a few sales going on right now, like. Yeah, Surviving Mars is available for like $10 right now, down from $30. The problem with games like Surviving Mars is there's the initial game, they still sell it to you for like $10, but then there's like 20 updates and 20 DLCs and stuff that then you're gonna like, oh man, I kind of want those. And
I don't even know Surviving Mars.
What's that?
I don't even know Surviving Mars.
It's a survival, like a colony management game and stuff like that. But it's available on Steam, but it's also available on consoles too. So it's actually pretty popular, well liked game.
One of the games that I never played that I always wanted to, but I never really got into at the time. I don't even remember why I didn't get into it, but was StarCraft 2.
Oh man, so good.
I loved StarCraft. And played the fuck out of that game. But I never played StarCraft 2. And now I'm like, I keep looking at like my Blizzard account and I'm like, and they keep putting it up there and I'm like, I think it's like free to play the basic part of the game and then you have to buy the expansions or something. But I'm like, honestly, I'm considering it just because I always loved the Warcraft and the StarCraft games.
StarCraft 2 was great. I played the hell out of it. It was a lot of fun. I was not a huge, I'm not one of those guys that would play it competitively or just play it nonstop, but I played through the story and then did, and then would pick it up periodically here and there, just kind of go, oh, this is great. I don't think I actually have it currently installed on my system.
Warcraft, but I do have was the game that I played the fuck out of. I played that. I used to play that. Me and my cousin used to play that till like 3-4 in the morning, easy.
Well, I do have BattleNet on here, which is where.
Yeah, it's World of Warcraft and StarCraft 2 and Diablo 3, which that's another one I should get back to. That was the first game I got for PS4, and I never actually finished it.
Yeah, so that is probably where I could probably play the game. Let's see, I believe it says that third price for a second, as long as you do third-party account.
Anyway, so
StarCraft. StarCraft was a blast.
Well, so 2 days from now, Thursday, we get the Snyder Cut.
Yes.
You said you had been reading some stuff about reviews. Early reviews of it?
Yeah. Here, hang on just a second. Let me take care of something here.
I heard that the Warner Brothers bigwigs were not overly happy with it.
I don't know about that. I did hear that the various hang on, finish.
I've been hearing
okay.
both good and bad.
Right, both exactly. Both good and bad. That people are like. It says here's a thing I had just gotten. Far superior to the original theatrical version, is what it says. First reactions to the Snyder Cut are coming in. I can now say that I watched Zack Snyder's Justice League and is far superior to the original theatrical version. Rich character development, much better action, a coherent story, and some terrific badass moments. Definitely a long watch, but I never felt tired of it. Well done. Definitely some positive things. Freaking awesome. Seen it 3 times now.
That's 12 fucking hours.
Huh?
That's 12 hours.
I know. It's a masterpiece. Brings us brilliant technical emotional storytelling. Beautifully built in Man of Steel and BVS. Awesome continuation of what he beautifully built. Truly epic event that feels like a crowd pleaser even for non-Snyder fans. It was BVS. If BVS was deconstruction, jail is reconstruction. It's DC heroes at their best. These are all tweets, by the way, by
yeah. You know. I might have to get up early on Saturday to watch it.
Okay.
I say early on Saturday because it's a matter of setting aside the 4 hours to watch it.
Sure. It clocks in at a hefty 240 minutes. So yeah, about 150 of which have never been seen before. Now, what I do understand is that there is zero stuff from the Joss Whedon version in this movie. He didn't include any of the Joss Whedon stuff.
So it's a completely new movie? Then not even any of the... Or are you just talking about like the Joss Whedon reshoots?
Any of the stuff... I mean, apparently he didn't use any of the Joss Whedon footage. Any of the stuff that Joss Whedon shot. So that's what they're saying.
All right.
But anyways, yeah, they're saying that I mean, a lot of the initial reviews are pretty positive, you know, or at least from some. But then there are some people that are saying that let's see, those sounded like those were, you know, tweets from fans and tweets from maybe some people in the industry. But critics are split, calling the movie a surprise vindication for the director to an ungainly mass of blood, frowns, and grunts. So they're rolling in. It says there's certainly a mixed bag with the runtime, storyline, action, VFX, and its villain Steppenwolf, all hot topics up for debate. Critics are also divided on whether it's better or worse than 17's Justice League. For those who don't know, what?
You're off screen.
Oh, sorry. For those of you...
I have to go this way. It's opposite the direction that you're going. Smack. This way? Get back on screen. There you go.
For those who don't know, the theatrical version of Justice League underwent substantial reshoots overseen by Joss Whedon after Snyder stepped away from the project following a family tragedy. The version we can see this week on HBO Max is all Snyder and even has some totally new additions, like a scene set in the Nightmare timeline involving Jared Leto's Joker and Joe Manganiello's Deathstroke. We've rounded up a selection of the responses to the movie here to give you an idea. These are all on, once again, on Games Radar /Newsarama. Let's see, Jordan Farley from Games Radar gave it a 3 out of 5. Taken on its merits as a 4-hour film, Zack Snyder's Justice League is unwieldy, indulgent, and frequently impenetrable, with all new cameos and subplots upon subplots that will mean a little to all but the most DC-savvy viewers. While the broad structure of the story, which still involves DC's assembled metahumans racing to stop a space bull from assembling 3 MacGuffin boxes before they scorch the Earth, remains dispiritingly unchanged, rarely registering as anything more than an excuse to move superfolk around the chessboard. But Tom Jorgensen from IGN gave it an 8 out of 10. Zack Snyder's Justice League is a surprise vindication for the director and the fans that believed in his vision. With a mature approach to its superhero drama, better realized antagonists, and improved action, Snyder's version of Justice League saves the movie from the dustbin of history, something that likely only could have happened on a streaming platform like HBO Max. Though not every edition feels totally necessary, some new visual effects stick out as unpolished. It's hard to overstate how much more enjoyable this version of Justice League is. Clarice Lowry gives it a 2 out of 5 from The Independent. At its core, it's an exhausting 4-hour behemoth that doesn't particularly serve anyone outside of the minority that demanded its existence. For those without a pre-built emotional investment, Zack Snyder's Justice League has all the joys of watching meat being pulverized. It's an ungainly mass of blood, frowns, and grunts.
Wow.
True, this undiluted Snyder is better than what was released in cinemas. She still called it better than the original, which had the feel of a film directed by committee, puerile jokes and narrative inconsistencies included, but his voice has been allowed to lapse into a kind of creative megalomania. Variety, Owen Gleiberman didn't give it a rating number. The new movie, and make no mistake, it really is a new movie, is more than a vindication of Snyder's original vision. It's a grand, nimble, and immersive entertainment, a team of heroes origin story that at heart is classically conventional, yet is now told with such an intoxicating childlike serenity and ominous fairy tale wonder that it takes you back to what comic books at their best have always sought to do, make you feel like you're seeing gods at play on Earth.
So one of the things that I have heard, and oh shit, I just lost my complete train of thought on that. I had something and I lost it.
Well, I'll keep going, and I'm not going to read all of these, but I'll keep going, and maybe it'll know. The Peter Bradshaw from The Guardian gave it a 4 out of 5. Its sheer colossal size, its sepulchral feeling of doom, and its translate state of its own mythic grandeur make it weirdly entertaining, although the familiar superhero movie MacGuffins are there, and the film needs to absorb the slightly uncharismatic performance of Henry Cavill. Entertainment Weekly gave it a C-. Lovers may love the result. Where are you at, Stephen Wolfpack? And the HBO Max presentation could be ideal for such an unwieldy doomchuck of content. He called it Zack Snyder's Justice League is a chore. At the end of the rainbow, viewers are left the promise that the actual cool things will happen next time. Doesn't look like there's a lot of speculation whether there will be a next time.
Yeah.
See, Collider, Matt Goldberg from Collider gives it a D+, but Jenna Anderson from Comic Book gives it a 4.5 out of 5. So it's like they're really split, man. I mean, like some people just absolutely loved it, and some people were like, "God's above. This was, fucking crazy." So,
but we'll find out on Thursday or beyond.
Yeah. Well, guys, we will give a actual review of it.
Probably about 2 weeks from now.
Probably 2 weeks. Yeah, I'll give it 2 weeks to give people, a chance to watch it. It is going to be a chore. I'm sure I'm going to be spending my Saturday afternoon watching it.
Yeah, let's plan actually on the 30th. 2 weeks from today, we'll give our actual review of the movie. Okay.
Now, apparently, I have heard also that there are some rumors that it could potentially, there could potentially be a Justice League 2, but it would go direct to HBO Max. So, who knows, man? Who knows? I mean,
So, talking with Renee, she has now agreed to actually watch all of the DC movies. She feels like she needs to.
Like all of them? Like, I mean, where?
Well, right? Like the Snyder-verse stuff.
Oh, okay.
So like Man of Steel, Batman v Superman. She's already seen like Wonder Woman, Aquaman, Shazam, those movies. Okay. But now she's like saying that she thinks that she needs to see like Man of Steel because she likes Henry Cavill.
Sure.
So she wants to see Man of Steel and Batman v Superman and stuff. And I'm like, I need to watch Man of Steel again because I've tried watching it twice and fallen asleep both times.
Well, don't watch it when you're ready to fall asleep.
Dude, it doesn't matter. I actually don't. I have not been a fan of Man of Steel. One, and we've talked about this, and even you agree that the casting of Luthor was horrid.
Yeah.
And so I have trouble with that. But I also don't like the fight scenes. They're too quick. That whole, this is how they would fight. I don't give a fuck. Slow it down so that the human eye can see it. I don't need to see how Kryptonians fight.
Sure.
You know, I don't need to see it at super speed. It was the same problem I had with Transformers. Was that the fight scenes were too fast and too chaotic.
Okay.
You need to set it up so that people can see what happens. If that means it looks slow or whatever, that's fine. Just figure out how to do that. But yeah, so I will probably be watching those again. Batman v Superman wasn't horrible. It wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. It's still not one of my favorites. And honestly, I've kind of come around on Affleck for the Batman that he is. I still hate the costume, but I don't like the bat armor. But I actually don't hate Affleck as Batman as much as I used to. I'm still not a big fan, and to this point, still at this point, Nolan's Batman is still my favorite, and I think Bale is still a fantastic Batman, no matter what anyone says about the "I'm Batman" stuff. I understand the idea behind why he was doing that.
Sure.
So,
I mean, if you don't understand that, you're kind of stupid. I mean, really, that's...
Well, people just make fun of it, and I'm like, well, there's a reason he was doing that. He didn't have a voice modulator.
Right.
Granted,
Exactly.
he was a billionaire. He probably could have had a voice modulator. But,
right. Multi-billionaire.
But do you really want Batman coming out sounding like an auto-tune?
Personally, I liked how they did it in BVS. I thought that made a lot of sense, and he did sound scary. And but no, I got it. I understood. I understood. It's just I liked Chris Bale. He was not my favorite Batman. I think but I did like him. I honestly think I like Affleck a little bit better as Batman than
God,
I think
way.
I think I really like. I mean, I really like personally. The Dark Knight is easily my favorite Batman movie of all time. I mean, it was incredible. It was incredibly well done.
Absolutely. I think that is like the pinnacle of Batman. And,
yeah, absolutely.
And a lot of that has to do with how Heath Ledger played Joker. I think.
Absolutely, and that totally.
But so who is your favorite Batman? Live action Batman.
My favorite live action Batman. That's like a Sophie's Choice here kind of thing, man. Come on. I did surprisingly I did like Affleck a lot. I thought that he did a really good job, particularly considering.
Bias.
Pardon?
Recency bias.
It's recency bias, yeah. I think he did a really good job considering that the scripts that he was working with were not the I mean the movies themselves came under fire a lot. He only played Batman. Really, I mean, yes, he played him briefly in Suicide Squad as well, but he really only did it in BVS and Justice League, and he came under a lot of fire. Those movies themselves came under a lot of fire, whereas pretty much all the other Batman movies, I mean, arguably, except for one of them, were fairly successful. Batman and Robin was the only one where with Clooney was the only one that was considered that was really panned,
and the thing
badly.
Is, I think Clooney was a good both Bruce Wayne and Batman.
Yeah.
I just think he had the absolute worst
script ever
that there could have been. I'm like, that's right up there with Fantastic Four Stick. It is just horrid.
It's awful. It's awful.
And Keaton, I think, was a good Bruce Wayne. I don't know that he was a great Batman. I think he was a better Batman than I expected him to be.
Mm-hmm.
But but I think he was a decent Bruce Wayne. Still a little older Bruce Wayne than, or at least a different look for Bruce.
Yeah, Keaton was also like he proved that you didn't.
He was way better when I first heard about him. It was like when I heard about Affleck. It was like, what the fuck? No fucking way.
Everybody did that, man. Everybody did that because he was more known for comedic roles at the time.
But I think he did a good job as far as the acting went.
Yeah, absolutely. I
think Val Kilmer was good as Bruce, but I don't think he was great as Batman.
I agree.
And I think Bale was the first one to truly nail both Batman and Bruce. I think he was absolutely fantastic. He had the look of Bruce. He had the feel of Batman. I like the way that they took it. I know you don't like the Tumblr for the Batmobile, but I like that it was all R&D. It was all Bruce Wayne Tech R&D that he was basically taking, because
I think, and I agree with that for the most part. I like that that angle of where he got all of his stuff from Wayne Tech R&D, because a lot of people are like, in the comics it's all like, oh, well, Bruce designs all of it himself. I mean, there's only so much you can accept, like that Bruce is an amazing engineer and the greatest detective in the world and one of the greatest fighters on the planet and all these other things. It's like, look, you got to give him something. Like, you got to give him a break. There's only so many hours in the day to learn everything. So, it might have been cool for him to come up with certain ideas and then have his engineers at Wayne Tech actually put them together and figure it out.
Well, and that's one of the things I liked about the Nolan stuff was it was him and Alfred working together to come up with stuff. Like Alfred coming up with the whole cowl and radio idea.
Yes, and I also like the fact that he also got, Lucius Fox involved too. And
exactly.
And how Lucius was kind of figured it out, but at the same time was kind of like, he didn't know for sure. He wanted to be, kind of left out of it partially. Honestly, it was one of the
deniability.
Yeah, it was one of the things that I liked about
spelunking.
Spelunking. It was one of the things that I liked about the more current ones, though, too, with Affleck, where Jeremy Irons was playing Alfred, and he was directly involved as well. He was working on the voice changer, and he was working on the Batmobile, and definitely helps.
Well,
he is more of a partner.
That's actually one of the things I'm looking forward to in the Snyder Cut.
The Snyder Cut
is seeing Alfred working on the Batmobile when Superman shows up.
Right. So there's that. And once again, it's a really hard thing. I mean, I'd have to say probably Michael Keaton is probably my favorite, mainly just because he was the Batman of my childhood.
He was Batman of my teens, but
my teens, early teens.
For me, it was late teens.
Right. Well, it was 89.
When I was already graduated.
Right. Well, I was like 15, I think. So, 14 or 15 when the movie actually came out, and
for me, I was just happy to have Batman at that point.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. It came out the summer of 1989. I saw it right before I left for Arizona, and once again, like I said, it was it was a great. He was a big surprise for everybody, and then he reprised it in the second one, and so I really loved that. But I gotta say,
Keaton's probably my second favorite, but Bale is my favorite.
Really? Okay. I'd have to say Bale is my number 2. And then followed by Ben Affleck, just because Ben Affleck.
I think
Ben is getting a. Huh?
I still think Affleck's at the bottom of my list.
Oh, like below Clooney and.
Yes, I think so, because I think Clooney could have been a really good Batman, and Bruce, he just had a bad script.
I agree, but I still think Affleck is better than him. I don't know. It's a real tough thing. I mean, playing Batman, there's so much criticism and there's so much to live up to, and it's a much more complex character than a lot of people give it credit.
I also kind of hate that it's like 40s Batman. The Batman in his 40s.
Yeah, sure.
In the DCEU, I want Batman. I don't want old Batman.
Sure. I get you.
If I'm gonna get old Batman, I want Michael Keaton playing Bruce Wayne in Batman Beyond. That's what I want.
Well, apparently that is most probably what we're going to be getting. We're probably going to see Michael Keaton as one of the various Batmen in the Flash movie, because the Flash will be traveling. The Flash movie is supposedly going to be the multiverse. Essentially, he's going to be traveling the multiverse. So we're going to see multiple versions of Batman, and they've said that Michael Keaton will most probably be coming back in some form of role as Bruce Wayne. So we took a pretty sharp turn here. And so I want to get into a couple of things. It's getting a little later. And before
just
we
real
go,
quick, Falcon and Winter Soldier Friday. So we have Snyder Cut Thursday, Falcon and Winter Soldier Friday, which we'll be starting to talk about next Tuesday.
Right.
So.
The Falcon and Winter Soldier, guys, we're, because it is a weekly show, we're not going to go, a week behind. There will be spoilers. So bear that in mind when you're listening or watching the show.
Yes. So watch it.
Yeah, exactly. I want to do some quick hits here before we go. Disney Plus is getting some incredibly obscure Star Wars spinoffs, as well as the acclaimed animated Clone Wars series from Gennady Tartakovsky. Disney Plus is adding a handful of obscure Star Wars movies and TV series, including an animated short that's currently only available as a Blu-ray extra, and highly acclaimed animated series from legendary animator Gennady Tartakovsky. So apparently, if you're a big fan of the old stuff, you're going to hang on to your seat, man. It's finally going to be clubbed. The 1984 made-for-TV movie Caravan of Courage, an Ewok adventure. Its 85 sequel Ewoks: The Battle of Endor, and the 85 animated series Star Wars Ewoks. Star Trox. The animated series Star Wars Ewoks are all joining the streaming service's roster of Star Wars content on April 2nd. On the same day, Disney Plus is getting Tartakovsky's much-loved Star Wars Clone Wars animated series that aired on Cartoon Network from 03 to 05. Here's where things really stray from the canonical path. The Story of the Faithful Wookiee is an animated short first broadcast in 1978 as part of the made-for-TV film The Star Wars Holiday Special. Until April 2nd, when it premieres on Disney Plus,
I just got to chill.
It's only ever been available as an Easter egg tucked away inside the complete Star Wars saga Blu-ray release. And get this, it also includes the very first appearance of Boba Fett. So add this to your list when it launches, and you'll really stand out on the next Star Wars trivia night. I remember watching...
I thought the first thing of Boba Fett was... Oh, you know what? I know what you're talking about. So they're talking about the animated thing.
The little animated thing.
Yeah, because it was part of the. I'm like, wait, the first appearance of Boba Fett was during the holiday special. Oh, right. It was that animated thing in the holiday.
It was that animated special, and then live action Boba does show up in the live action part.
Yes, so I've seen that whole thing with the first appearance of the animated Boba.
Yeah, and I believe so.
It's
been a long time since I've watched it too. And
if you haven't watched the Star Wars Holiday Special, you should really subject yourself to that at some point. If you're a Star Wars fan. Every Star Wars fan should watch it once. Should watch the holiday special. How high those actors were.
I have often I have often said that the only way we can truly appreciate the best. The good stuff is by seeing the absolute worst.
I'll say if you want to see something that makes the prequels look good, watch the holiday special.
Absolutely. You will no longer think so poorly about the Phantom Menace. But also if you really want to, I remember watching those Ewok made for television movies on TV when I was a little kid.
Nub. Yo.
And I remember watching those and loving them. They featured just pretty much the Ewoks. It was some humans that crashed on Endor, and Wilford Brimley was in one of them. And
Ewoks ate them.
Oh, God. Yikes. So you might want to check those out. Also, let's see what else. I had a few other things here. The Witcher season 2 has cast the character of Philippa Eilhart, sorceress and known frenemy to Yennefer. So that could be cool. We're going to be played by Cassie Clare, who had roles in a handful of musical films, including Beauty and the Beast and Mamma Mia. So that should be cool. In the second game, she actually is a character that gets her eyes gouged out. She's a sorceress, and it's why her eyes remain covered for much of the third game, Witcher 3. So that could be interesting. WandaVision director explains why the Darkhold looks different to the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. version. Matt Shackman comments on the Darkhold's new look. WandaVision episode 9 ended with Wanda, now the Scarlet Witch, obtaining the Darkhold, an ancient book of magic. With it, Wanda has everything she needs to become even more powerful, and we last see her studying its pages. However, the Darkhold of WandaVision looks significantly different to the Darkhold seen before in Marvel TV shows Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and Runaways, which led to speculation over whether these two series are still considered MCU canon. WandaVision director Matt Shackman has cleared up some of the confusion, though. Yes, we designed it anew, he told Screen Rant. We didn't look at the other Darkholds that had been designed. It is part of the Marvel Universe, though, so we'd imagine it's the same book. I don't know exactly how it was used in those other shows because I wasn't a regular viewer, but the Darkhold has a comic's origin. Its mythology will continue to be developed. So that's kind of a non-answer, really.
Well, it was that they didn't. Basically, what they're saying is that they didn't base it on what was already there, but it's still the same book.
Yeah, exactly.
So no, they didn't destroy the canon for any of the other things.
Exactly.
And to me, okay, I'm fine with that. The Darkhold is something that is so powerful that it could take on any appearance it wants,
right?
In my opinion.
Exactly.
So I don't think it hurts anything with S.H.I.E.L.D. or Runaways.
Exactly, I agree. I feel like it's an mystic artifact that isn't destroyed easily. You know,
right?
If you destroy it, it'll reappear somewhere else.
And it's not like those two shows were heavily influenced into the MCU anyway. I mean, they tried tying in S.H.I.E.L.D. at the beginning, and then by the time the last reference, I think, to anything in the MCU that S.H.I.E.L.D. had was Thor: Dark World, where they were doing cleanup in London.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there were here and there little things, you know. Like I said, there was also like Jamie Alexander's character of Sif showed up at one point.
Mm-hmm.
That was one of the few times that the show actually did cross over into the main Marvel universe. So
I was pissed that they never acknowledged that Coulson was alive in any of the movies.
I would have loved to have seen them show up at the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. show up at the final battle.
Oh yeah, you know? I think seeing Coulson show up at Endgame would have been fantastic.
It would have been fantastic. It would have been a game changer. It would have been a rallying point beyond. I mean, people would have maybe gone. But what about this moment we just had with Cap? Cap was the rallying point. Avengers Assemble. I mean, that was the whole thing. And yes, it was cool. But I mean, if Coulson had suddenly showed up standing like you know, wearing like a jetpack and flown in and just landed next to Cap and looked over at him and said,
with the Devastator gun.
Yeah, with the Devastator gun, and said, "Hey, Cap," and it just started like shooting, and then Cap going. You know, and Iron Man, who was very much affected by his death, you know, saying, Phil, you know.
Well, no, his first name's Agent.
Yeah. But at even point, he was like, and his name was Phil, you know, or whatever, when he shoots Loki and stuff.
Yeah.
And you're like, you know, that would have been a cool moment too. That would have been a really cool moment. And I think they dropped the ball on that one. It's one of the few things about that the MCU I feel like they just didn't give Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. the credit the end credit they deserved and that kind of thing, considering that it was a show that grew out of the MCU and added stuff to the MCU, but didn't, you know, and it lasted 7 seasons. It was a successful show.
I thought it was a great show. I'm actually, I know.
I'd love for the final couple seasons to come out on Blu-ray. That'd be great.
I was bummed when it was actually over. Just because I do love the characters, and Coulson is one of my favorite characters in the MCU.
Yeah, he's great. He really is, and he grew so much in the show, and
I think it was a fantastic show, and I think that it could have gone longer, and I would have liked to have seen more interaction.
Right. Now I'm still behind. I've still got to watch the last 2 seasons, I think, but I think I want to start from the scratch again.
Yeah, I think from the beginning. I think if Disney Plus had been around, it could have been more of a integrated thing. And I think that's what we're going to see going forward is we're going to see more shows on Disney Plus that are going to integrate just into the MCU. We're not going to see shows on ABC and stuff like that or even Hulu like the Runaways that are or Cloak and Dagger that don't interact as much.
Well, we do have shows that are going to be going on Hulu and stuff like She-Hulk and Moon Knight and some of those other ones, because they are saying that the more adult shows are going to be going. The ones that are tweaked a little bit more for a little more of an adult audience are going to go towards Hulu. You know, I hear She-Hulk is essentially going to be a little funnier, but also, you know, a little more, you know, not necessarily for the whole family like WandaVision and Winter Soldier and Falcon.
I'm actually really looking forward to She-Hulk just because it's Tatiana.
Yeah, and I personally love She-Hulk.
Maslany. Yeah. And I never followed She-Hulk. I never collected any of her comics. I never read her. But Tatiana Maslany is absolutely one of my favorite actresses. Orphan Black is an incredible show. If you haven't watched it, you should.
Yeah. I have not. It's on my list. I think
you would like it, dude.
I'm sure I would. I'm sure I would. That's the other thing that I've been collecting the Blu-rays of a lot of these Marvel shows and stuff, and I have like the first season 1 through 5 of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and I don't believe 6 or 7 have been released on Blu-ray yet. And I'm like, oh, and Disney is notorious about that. They really hold on to their stuff, and like they only released the first like 1 or 2 seasons of Daredevil. They only released the first season of Luke Cage and of Jessica Jones. So it's just like, man, and they're pricey too. So WandaVision, there was also, we didn't talk about that. You and I talked about this before the show, but apparently they did say that the story of Jimmy Woo in WandaVision will be answered. The story about his witness that disappeared in...
That needs to be fucking answered, goddammit.
Yeah, it does. Holy shit, man.
That is probably one thing from WandaVision that bugs me the most. Yeah. Who the fuck was it?
Yeah, he said that he first arrives in Westview, blah, 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 and the whole thing. Speaking of comic books, Phase Zero podcast, Shackman, the director, Matt Shackman, did say, in terms of the missing person, yeah, there's an answer for that, and, hang in there. So it will be answered at some point.
Good.
There was a lot. That was the thing. The show was so full of red herrings and so much wild fan
I've got a bunch of things that I wanted to talk about, but I don't think we're going to get to them tonight. So
we can talk about it next time. Lastly, I just wanted to address this thing real quick about the PS5. For those of you guys who are out there, the PS5. If your PS5 is running out of space too quick, make sure you don't have your PS4 games installed twice. Double the versions, double the install size. If your PS5 storage space is running up faster than you expected, you may want to double check that you aren't doubling up on backwards compatible games, especially if you tend to start installing games straight from your mobile app. PS5 can play both its own games and PS4 backwards compatible games, which are treated as completely separate applications that each need their full respective room to install. As noted in a thread by the PS5 Reddit community, it's entirely possible that you'll have both versions of a game, which is available on both PS4 and PS5, installed at once. As user David Egger reported, several games which he installed through the PlayStation app had both versions sitting in storage. Unless you really want to go back and forth between the PS4 and the PS5 versions to spot the differences, you probably don't need both installed. Just head to your storage options and you should be able to see PS5 or PS4 next to each game you have installed, and you can start clearing the dupes out manually. This is especially significant for games like Crash Bandicoot 4, It's About Time, where the PS4 version requires just over 45 gigabytes of space, but the newly released PS5 version only needs 20 gigabytes. That's pretty interesting. The future is compressed. So, basically check that out. Now, I have the luxury of having...
the future is compressed, but it takes up more triangles.
Exactly. There's lots of... there's a lot less triangles in the world.
Yeah, now. There is a shortage of triangles in the world now.
I have the advantage of all of my PS4 games don't go directly to an external hard drive. It means that my loads are a little bit longer, but I have a lot more space on my PS5 hard drive for the PS5 versions of games that I'm going to play.
The PS5 lets you use whatever external hard drive you want, right?
Correct.
Yeah, it's the Xbox that you have to use a specific hard drive that is specifically for the Xbox, which is bullshit.
Also correct. Yes, and it's pricey. It's like a $200
Yeah.
expandable hard drive. Yeah, it's bullshit. I mean, when you can, I mean, granted, a good size, terabyte, couple, 2, 3, 4 terabyte expandable
I've
hard
got a
drive.
5 terabyte hard drive on my Xbox right now.
Mm-hmm. And how
I
much
will
was it?
not be able to use that
No,
with the Xbox Series X
no,
because it is not the official one.
no.
Now,
But you could clear it out and put it and use it for a PS5.
well, I've got, and the thing is, in my PS4, I've got a 4 terabyte on that one.
Oh, okay. Yeah, but and like, how much did those cost you for a 5 terabyte? How much did that run you?
Under $100. I got it on sale.
Okay, you got it on
I
sale.
bought two of them. I bought two of them at the time. I've got one that I'm putting all of our videos and stuff on right now, for this, that I got hooked up to my computer, and then I've got one for my Xbox. But yeah, it was like $94 or something like that on sale, and for a 5 terabyte external hard drive.
Right.
Which I just found out that they're up to like at least 4 terabyte internal drives now.
Right.
Which
I mean, and the other thing is too,
just bought one. He's building a computer for a friend, and he's like, I was at one of the local electronics stores, and he's like, I was picking up a SSD, a 4 terabyte SSD for the guy he's building the computer for. Right. I'm like, I didn't know they were doing them that big yet internally.
Right. Well, the fact that I mean, the SSD ones are still a little more expensive too. So if he got,
this was like $430.
Yeah, yeah. So it's crazy. I mean, the SSD ones are definitely a lot more expensive. So if this is a $200 external, it's probably an SSD, and it's probably at least 2 or 3 gigs, or I mean 2 or 3 terabytes. So I mean, that's price wise, it's about right. Still, I mean, it does kind of suck that you have to use their preferential software or preferential hardware. It kind of sucks. But we should probably wrap things up. We are at an hour and 45.
Yeah, one thing I wanted to mention real quick, though, we're still talking about the MCU. There was Disney Plus is continuing to drop little breadcrumbs about some of the future stuff. Yeah. And one of the things that they've dropped recently is for Secret Invasion. They've been dropping a bunch of like little things for that. And because, well, even with WandaVision, that's what I think is going to play in with Monica Rambeau talking with Nick Fury, is that she's going to tie into Secret Invasion as well. But that they have announced that Kingsley Benadir is going to play the villain in it, but they haven't said who. Right. So there's tons of speculation about who he's going to be.
Now, that's the thing. With Secret Invasion in the comic books, the villains were the Skrulls. Now, the Skrulls... Well,
they still think it's going to be a Skrull. It's just who.
Okay. Now, like I said...
Because the other thing is that the Secret Invasion in the comics was so big of an event.
Yeah, it was huge.
And this is probably not going to be quite as much. It's going to be kind of a scaled down version. So,
right. I mean, like I said, in Secret Invasion, the traditional villains were the Skrulls, and who have been a traditional villain in Marvel Comics since the 60s, since they were introduced. They've always kind of been the bad guys, or at least somewhat. Now, over the last few years, they've kind of tempered it a little bit, saying, well, like Skrulls, yeah, they are kind of the bad guys a lot of times, but it's wartime, and there's good and bad on both sides, and different things like that. And
well, and that they're
not necessarily
currently our allies,
right? And that's the thing in the MCU. They were established in Captain Marvel that they aren't necessarily bad guys. In fact, for the most part, they were kind of fighting against an oppressive regime of the Kree. And in the comics, the Kree were almost always traditionally the good guys. And like I said, in more recent years, those roles have been either reversed or a little more balanced. Mm-hmm. And in Secret Invasion, though, they were definitely the villains. Yeah, it's all about perspective, exactly. And but in Secret Invasion, the Skrulls were definitely still the villains. They were also, but the reason why they were the villains too, it was given a religious bent in that their religion told them that Earth was their promised land, and or at least an aspect of their religion. So it was one of those things where people were kind of like, oh wow, now they're fighting because they think it's a religious thing, and so people kind of go, oh, I don't know, So interesting. So it should be interesting what direction they take Secret Invasion in.
Well, and one of the things I've heard is that, excuse me, one of the speculations on who he's going to be is Super Skrull.
That would be fucking cool.
But the thing is that they said that it's probably not who that's going to be because of the fact that he was given all of the Fantastic Four's powers.
Powers, correct. He was powered by right. So now in Secret Invasion they did establish that the Secret Skrull the Secret Skrull or Super Skrull program was basically a program that gave Skrulls the superpowers of Earth superhuman. So it didn't necessarily mean that they were all going to have the Fantastic Four's powers. Some of the Super Skrulls had a combination of the X-Men's powers, and some of them had some of the Avengers powers, and some of them. So it just depends. I mean, it could be a Super Skrull with an entirely different set of powers, and then maybe they'll save Kl'rt, the Super Skrull that is known, that's the most famous one, for when they introduce the Fantastic Four.
And I think that's what's going to happen there.
Yeah.
The one that they're talking about is, I don't even remember which one it was because I saw it on the Nerdist and they were talking about it. And most likely they're thinking it's going to be whoever it was that did like the whole family thing. I forget his name now. But basically it was a Skrull family that was living somewhere and that whole thing. So, but one of the other things I wanted to talk about real quick, as another side note, Renee and I just finished a show on HBO Max. If you have HBO Max, check out the show Ghosts. It is a BBC original show. So it's a British show. It's only 2 seasons. It is 6 episodes a season, each of them half-hour episodes.
So you could binge it in an afternoon.
Yeah, you really could. We watched it over several weeks, but it is absolutely, I think, hilarious. It is basically about a couple that inherits a house, the Button House, and it's haunted. And the main woman character in the show has a basically almost dies, and when she comes back to the house after almost dying, she can now see all the ghosts that are in the house. And so there's ghosts from all different eras. There's a caveman ghost who absolutely is one of my favorites. Robin is one of my favorite characters. And then there's one from the 40s. There's a couple from like way back, like the 1400s and the 1500s, and the all different eras. There's a bunch there's a bunch of ghosts in the basement that are all from the Black Plague. They were all killed by the plague. And as the show goes on, you start learning more about the ghosts and about how they died and things like that. And it is absolutely, honestly, it is very funny, very good. Check it out. It's a lot of fun.
Well, good. Definitely have to check that out. It's called Ghost. It's on Netflix. It is a British comedy.
HBO Max.
Excuse me. For those if you like British comedy, you might want to check out on Hulu, Miranda, starring Miranda Hart. It also features the guy who plays Lucifer on the Lucifer show. It's I can't remember, Tom Ellis.
Tom Ellis.
It's actually the show that they based.
He was on that.
Oh yeah, totally. It's hilarious too.
Is he the guy that she's infatuated with?
Yes, pretty much. Yeah. It is the show that the new show that Maya Bialik is doing called Call Me Cat. Excuse me. It's based.
Show.
What's that?
Which is also a cute show.
It's also on Hulu, and it's basically they based her Call Me Cat off of Miranda. And in fact, Miranda Hart is an executive producer, and maybe a writer.
Call Me Cat is actually a very entertaining show too. I
It
think.
is. It's cute. It's real cute.
It is a cute show, and it's based in Louisville, which is funny because with having lived in Louisville for several years, they're referencing areas, and I'm like, I know where they're talking about. They're referencing real areas in Louisville.
I figured that you'd get a kick out of that too. Yeah. So yeah, if you want to check out, really funny, Miranda, Cat is funny and gets kind of cute. Miranda is laugh out loud hilarious. I mean, it is.
I'll check that out.
Absolutely. Stella and I watch it, and we've been kind of parsing out the episodes because there's only 18 episodes. It's, those British shows. They only go for as long as they want, and 6 episodes a season, three seasons. It's from about 10 years ago. I think they did it. It was ran from 09 to 12 or something like that. And so it's a little dated, but it's not, you wouldn't really notice it. And it is a absolutely great show and laugh out loud funny. Miranda is this hilarious person. So you might want to check that out as well. We should probably wrap things up.
Yep.
It's getting late, guys. Be sure to check us out on all the places you can find quality podcasting. For whatever reason, they still let us
Auntie Dawn, I did start watching Avenue 5. I wasn't a big fan.
I did. Avenue 5. That's the show with Hugh Laurie about the spaceship.
Yeah.
Yeah, I watched it. I thought it was cool. I'm interested to see where it's going. I mean, it's definitely it's a dark comedy, and there's some parts that were like, oh my god, that's fucking hilarious, but also fucking twisted. I don't know. I'll check it out.
Watched the first few episodes, and we just really weren't getting into it, so we stopped watching it.
Yeah, I'll check out the second season when it happens. And actually, that show was on HBO Max as well, I believe, because I think it's available. Wait, was it on Prime? I don't know. I can't remember.
I don't remember which one. I thought it was HBO Max as well.
I think it is, because I think it is available when I scroll through Hulu, because I have HBO Max through my Hulu account. But we really got to go. It's getting late. Guys, be sure to check us out on iTunes, Google Play Store, Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, radio.com. And, of course, you can stream and download our shows at nerdswithalcoholshow.com. Also, you can catch the show on Twitch every Tuesday night at 8 o'clock on Drinking Nerds. And then on our Drinking Nerds channel on YouTube a couple days later.
And you can follow us on most of the social medias. We are on Facebook, Nerds with Alcohol Show. We are on Twitter, Drinking Nerds, Instagram, Drinking Nerds, and we are on Untapped. Just search for Drinking Nerds and send us a friend request, and we will get you added.
Yeah, absolutely.
And guys, look for us next Monday. All right, let's go through our quick schedule. Friday, I should be doing Friday Night Firefight, which is me playing Mech Warrior Online. Sunday, I will be continuing the Bounty Hunter storyline on Star Wars: The Old Republic. Monday night, we will be doing at 8:30. We will be doing Tavern Talk, which is our D&D talk show. And then we'll be back here on Tuesday next week do Nerds with Alcohol.
Guys, be sure to tell all your friends about us. The more views we get, the happier we are. Of course, we're still looking on getting a few more. We need a few more followers on Twitch. It's just too bad that we don't have. We could really use. If we could move more of our views from our other listens and whatnot from our other things onto Twitch, it'd be great. But thanks for joining us, and we'll see you.
I'm really actually grateful for all the people that come out on Twitch every Tuesday night to hang out with us.
Me too.
I love hanging out with people and talking. So
yeah, me too. It's great to have. I'm really thankful for CD and get his contributions. We have Bruce has been signing on some nights. He definitely checks us out at Tavern's Night.
And everybody.
Auntie Dawn and some of these newer people, and we're really great to have you guys joining us on this journey. Hopefully, once the pandemic is over, we'll be able to get out a little bit more often. We really got to want to try and push the show and push have more guests and have more. Well, we could still have guests on the Zoom show, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And do more mobiles and get out there a little bit more and promote the show a bit more, because I'd love to see more success. I mean,
Yep.
It'd be great. So,
All
but
right.
anyway,
Well, I think that's gonna about do it.
that should about do it.
So, on that note, until next time,
Slancha.
Well, that was a pretty good one.
That was a good one.
All right. Have a good night, everybody.
Good night.